Tupac picked up the phone, and the entire block went silent. Nobody had ever ignored that rule before, and nobody expected. What came next? This is the story of the moment Tupac Shakur changed the power structure of Clinton Correctional forever. If you are new here, we drop these untold stories every single day. Hit that subscribe button right now. It was a Thursday afternoon in the fall of 1995 inside Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora, New York, one of the most secure and most brutal state prisons in the entire United States of America. The kind of place where reputations meant everything and weakness meant danger. Tupac Shakur had been inside for several months by this point. He was 23 years old, serving a sentence that had stripped him of his freedom at the exact moment his career was reaching heights most artists only dream about. On the outside, his name was everywhere. On the inside, he was just another inmate in an orange jumpsuit, trying to figure out how to survive each day without losing himself. Prison had its own rules, its own economy, its own government. None of it was written down, none of it was enforced by guards or wardens. It was enforced by the men who had been inside long enough to build something worth protecting. And at Clinton Correctional in the fall of 1995, the man who enforced most of those rules was a guy named Deacon. Nobody knew Deacon by any other name. Nobody asked. He had been inside for 11 years. He was not the biggest man in the facility. He was not the loudest. He did not need to be. Deacon had something more dangerous than size. He had patience, and he had a network that stretched into every corner of every cell block in that building. One of the rules Deacon had established years before Tupac ever arrived was simple. If you wanted to use the main phone bank on cell block C, you cleared it with Deacon first. It did not matter who you were. It did not matter what you needed. You cleared it with Deacon, or you did not make your call. That was the rule, and for years every single man inside that facility had followed it without question until Tupac. It started on an ordinary afternoon, the kind of afternoon in prison where time moves like concrete, slow and heavy and impossible to push through. Tupac had been waiting to call his legal team. He had been waiting for 3 days. Every time he walked toward that phone bank, someone connected to Deacon was already there, already making it clear without words that the line never really moved unless Deacon decided it moved. On the 4th day, Tupac stopped waiting. He walked across cell block C at his normal pace, not fast, not slow, just steady. The kind of walk that does not announce itself, but somehow makes every head in the room turn. Anyway, other inmates noticed immediately. Some of them stopped their card games. Some of them stood up from their bunks without quite knowing why. Some of them just went very still, the way you go still when you sense something is about to change. Tupac reached the phone bank. There were 2 men standing near it, both of them connected to Deacon, both of them looking at Tupac the way men look at someone when they expect him to ask for something. Tupac did not ask for anything. He picked up the receiver and started dialing. One of the men stepped forward and said something low and direct. The words did not carry across the room, but the meaning did. You need to clear this. Tupac kept dialing. He made his call. He spoke. For several minutes, he said what he needed to say. When he was finished, he placed the receiver back on the hook, turned around, and walked back toward his side of the block. The entire thing had taken less than 10 minutes, but the silence that followed lasted much longer. Word reached Deacon within the hour. By the time dinner was called that evening, every inmate on cell block C had already heard what Tupac had done, and every single one of them was waiting to see what came next. The next morning after breakfast, Deacon walked across the common area alone. No crew, no backup, just himself moving with that slow, deliberate patience that had kept him at the top of that facility for over a decade. He stopped in front of Tupac, who was sitting on a bench near the far wall, and sat down across from him without being invited. The 2 men looked at each other without speaking. Around them, the common area had gone quiet. The whole room contracted into that single point of tension, the way a room always does when 2 people with serious gravity end up in the same space at the "Same time, you know what you did yesterday, Deacon," said Tupac. Looked at him without flinching. "Yeah," he said, "I made a phone call. That phone bank has rules." Deacon said, "Everybody here follows those rules." Tupac leaned forward slightly, his voice steady and level. "I follow rules that make sense," he said. "That phone is for every man in this block. I waited 3 days. I had legal business I needed to handle. I handled it." Deacon studied Tupac for a long moment. "You think that makes you different?" he said. Tupac shook his head slowly. "Not my situation," he said. "Me, I will not ask permission for what already belongs to every man in this block equally." The silence in that common area had weight now. It pressed against the walls. Every inmate was watching, and every inmate understood that what was happening was not just two men talking. It was a negotiation about how power worked in that facility and who got to define it. Deacon was quiet for a long time. He looked at the floor, he looked at his hands, he looked back at Tupac, and then he stood up, smoothed the front of his jumpsuit, and looked down at Tupac with an expression that lived somewhere between respect and warning. "We will see," he said, and then he walked away. The common area stayed quiet for another few seconds, and then slowly, carefully, the noise came back. Everything was slightly different now, and everyone could feel it. Tupac used the phone again the next day, and the day after that. Nobody stopped him. What happened in that common area was never about a phone call. It was never about Deacon, and it was never about a rule posted on a wall or spoken out loud in a cafeteria. It was about something much older and much more fundamental than any of that. It was about the question that every single person who has ever been stripped of their freedom has to answer eventually. Who are you when the world you built outside no longer exists? When your name, your reputation, your achievements, your titles cannot walk through the door with you. When the place you are standing in was specifically designed to reduce you to nothing more than a number, a jumpsuit, and a set of rules. You did not write. Who are you then? Do you shrink? Do you perform? Do you become someone else just to survive? Tupac did not shrink. He did not perform. He did not become someone else. He walked to that phone bank the same man who had walked out of every recording studio, every stage, every difficult moment in his life. Before that one, he was exactly himself, and in a place that was built from the ground up to make that impossible. That was the most powerful thing he could have done. That is what Deacon saw when he stood up and walked away. That is what every man in that common area understood without a single word being spoken. Real power does not ask for permission. It simply moves. If this story stayed with you after it ended, then you already understand exactly why we are here. Every day we find another moment like this one, another story that never made the headlines, another chapter from a life that the world thinks it already knows everything about, but does not even come close. These are the moments that reveal who someone actually is. Not the interviews, not the albums, not the public image, but the quiet, unreported seconds when nobody is watching except the people who were there. We are going to keep telling these stories every single day, and we are just getting started. So if you have not already subscribed, do it right now. Hit that bell so you never miss a single upload. And if this video reminded you of someone in your life, someone who is going through something hard right now, send it to them today. Sometimes the most important thing you can give someone is proof that it is possible to walk into the hardest moment of your life and walk out the other side still standing. We will see you